Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Pages with Maggie, breaking barriers one story at a time. Today, I bring to you episode 33. A wonderful book titled These Seas Count, written by Alison Fomento and illustrated by Sarah Snow. Now, I thought I'd bring this book in today, which is quite unlike, the topic is quite unlike the books we usually read, which are usually on the struggles that comes with immigration, the language barriers, and how we can better assimilate into a different culture. Today, we're going to focus on another very timely issue that I thought would be nice. So this book is written by Alison Fomento, illustrated by Sarah Snow, and it explores the environmental impact and importance of the seas and how crucial it is to keep them healthy. So both the author's gentle story and the illustrator's amazing collages combine for a powerful message about the environment and what we can do to preserve our oceans. So before we begin looking into this wonderful book, a little bit of context I think would suffice. So here we go. So Mr. Tate's class helps clean up a local beach and listens to the sea as it tells them about all the wildlife that make it their home. One whale, two giant sea turtles, three marlins, and more. Of course, the class discovers that this sea counts. So without further ado, let's begin. Something happened to Sunnyside's beach. Something bad. So on beach cleanup day, Mr. Tate's class wanted to help. When they arrived at the seashore, they met Captain Ned. Yo-ho, that's my boat, the Sea Fan. I do my best to care for the oceans and seas, but I need some help today. The class walked with Captain Ned along the shore. They saw dirty bottles and cans, empty food containers, plastic bags, and even old tires. Gold stood among piles of trash. The sea is sad, said Captain Ned. He waved his hat out wide. This garbage worries it. Seas can't be sad, Eli said. Captain Ned pulled out his hat. Listen closely, and the sea will share a story. Everyone stood at the surf's edge. Waves lapped at their feet, and a breeze blew salty air. This is what they heard. One whale leaps high, breaching my surface. Two giant sea turtles turf through a seaweed forest. Three mighty marlins glide across my waves. Four seahorses gallop in a saltwater rodeo. 5 flapping rays skim above my sandy floor. Oh, I wish I could swim like that, said Jake. Shh, said Shin. The sea has more to say. A wave crashed on the beach. 6 pelicans slurp fish, filling their empty pouches. 7 jellyfish drift by, dancing a water ballet. 8 gulls plunge and dip before soaring high. 9 harbor seals sprawl on boulders, resting after a swim. And 10 bottlenose dolphins dive and leap, flying through the air. Over and under my waves, I am home for many, from the deepest deep to beaches, sandy dunes, and sky. Well, what do you hear? Asked Captain Ned. The sea counts, Shin said. What else is great about the sea? Asked Mr. Tate. Good food, said Jake. I love to eat fish. The oceans and seas feed people all over the world, said Captain Ned. They also feed fish. In every bucket of ocean water there are millions of tiny plants called phytoplankton. These plants are food for small fish, which become food for bigger fish. When seawater is polluted, phytoplankton can't grow. Mr. C. Tate said, if the oceans and seas aren't clean, that hurts fish and people. Beaches are fun, said Natalie, but it's so dirty here. Captain Ned held up a plastic bottle. Trash comes from boats or from land, where it's washed into the sea by rivers and streams. Sometimes accidents happen and oil, sewage, or dangerous chemicals pollute seawater. This harms sea creatures and ruins our beaches too. A sand crab limped by with a plastic bag trailing from its leg. Eli ran after the crab to help. Oof! Jake helped Eli. It's smelly here, Jake said. Amy found a dead starfish in a pool of murky water. Oh, I feel bad for all the fish in the sea. I do too, said Mr. Tate, but that's why we need to keep our world's water clean. Mr. Tate pointed to a cloud over the ocean. Remember when we studied the water cycle, we saw how oceans and seas help create weather. We learned a poem about that, said Eli. He held his arms in a big circle. Ocean waves evaporate, cloudy skies condensate, rain and snow come down, water goes round and round. Yo-ho, said Captain Ned, the oceans help keep our air clean too. How? Asked Natalie. Well, phytoplankton create oxygen like plants do, and they absorb dirty air made when we use coal, oil, and gasoline. Captain Ned took a deep breath. A wind gusted up, and the gulls that were perched on the trash flew out over the water. Seas sure can do a lot, Shin said. Captain Ned nodded. Everyone helped clean Sunnyside Beach. They picked up, they carted, they carried. Mr. Tate's class filled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 giant bags of garbage. Captain Ned smiled. Now, how about a ride on the sea fan? Yo-ho! Shouted Jake. Everyone followed Captain Ned to the dock. The waves whooshed as he steered his boat about the sea. Can we clean out here too? Asked Natalie. Mr. Tate gave them each a long pole with a net at the end. As the class pulled trash from the water, dolphins leapt nearby. The sea is better now, said Captain Ned. A spray of water misted the boat. That feels good. Thank you, sea, said Amy. Yo-ho, said Eli. So that is the end of the story, but I do believe the author actually has something else that she would also like us to have a look at. So let's have a read of that. The splash on oceans and seas. When you walk across a beach or splash in the surf, you've stepped into the incredible world of water that covers 3/4 of our Earth. This world ocean, as scientists call it, is continuous, with 5 major regions: the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, Arctic, and Southern or Antarctic. Seas, such as the Mediterranean, are smaller bodies of water. They are connected to oceans but mainly surrounded by land. The word sea is commonly used as a synonym for ocean. From the tiny drifting phytoplankton plants smaller than the head of a pin to a massive blue whale, the oceans and seas contain hundreds of thousands of species of fish, animals, and plants. Marine scientists continue to discover hundreds of new species every year. The world's climate and weather rely on the oceans and seas to move water through the atmosphere in a never-ending sequence known as the water cycle. Rain falls and snow melts into rivers and streams, which eventually fall into the oceans. The sun warms the water's surface into vapor, which rises into the sky. There it cools and forms clouds that will rain or snow and continue the cycle of water. The oceans and seas also moderate our climate so our world isn't too hot or too cold. Humans depend on food from all kinds of fish and even seaweed and kelp. Overfishing and trawling or dragging ocean full with nets threaten to wipe out some species of fish such as Chilean sea bass. Other natural resources we use from our oceans and seas include salt, sand, gravel, crude oil, and minerals such as manganese, copper, nickel, iron, and cobalt. Several medicines for treating diseases, including cancer, are made from underwater plants and creatures like the sponge. Most important, oceans and seas help make our air breathable. 1 teaspoon of seawater can hold millions of phytoplankton. Like trees and plants on land, phytoplankton use sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water in a process called photosynthesis to produce oxygen. Without oxygen, humans and animals could not exist on Earth. Phytoplankton also helps soak up excess carbon dioxide created when we burn coal to produce electricity and use gasoline to power our cars. Too much carbon dioxide pollutes our air and damages delicate underwater ecosystems such as coral. Another major threat to our oceans and seas is oil spills from drilling accidents and damaged, leaking tankers. These human-made environmental disasters have caused the death of hundreds of thousands of seabirds and animals and continue to affect the habitat where the spills occurred. Dumping of raw sewage and chemicals also pollutes our oceans and seas and can harm human health. The plastic bags, water bottles, soda cans, and other trash washed into our oceans and seas also harm marine life. Birds, fish, seals, and turtles have become entangled in or died from eating floating plastics. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a floating mass of trash called marine debris in the northern Pacific Ocean. It's the size of Rhode Island and keeps growing. Everything in our natural world is connected, and even if you don't live near an ocean or sea, remember that your neighborhood creeks, streams, and rivers all flow into the world of water that covers most of our planet. Next time you visit a beach, splash into the waves, breathing the salty air, and remember how much seas count. Well, I do hope that after reading that passage, obviously, we do realize first and foremost how important and how significant the preservation of our seas is. But I think other than just becoming aware of this issue, I would really, really encourage all of us, myself included, to, next time we go to the beach, look for trash, pick it up, make a small change, because a small change, to be honest, is a really huge change if everyone makes a small change at the same time. This is our world, and if we don't protect it, then there's no one else left to do that. It is such a precious and unique environment that many times we take for granted. And I think it is very important, just as this book has illustrated, the importance for all of us to act together and initiate to help restore a balance into our environment, the marine environment particularly, and to care about the animals and organisms there, because they are all very significant to our ecosystem. Now that is the end of episode 33 of Behind the Pages with Maggie. I truly hope they enjoyed this episode and have learned some of the environmental solutions we can use to improve the marine life. I can't wait to see you next time. Goodbye for now.